And we're in three, two, one.
Bienvenidos. Welcome to episode 134 of the Narcissistic Music Disorder.
Good morning, Scott. How are you, brother?
How you doing, buddy?
I say brother a lot, more than I should. I mean, I'm really. I blame Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan,
Blame,
yeah.
I blame '80s wrestling for that, brother.
Him
So
and the
how's
Macho
everything?
Man, yeah, they did a lot of that.
The Macho Man was heavy on brother too. Brother. That might have been Hulk. That might have been my Hulk.
Well, weren't you a wrestler in high school, John?
I was. You know what? Well, now our guest has revealed himself. Everybody, Scott, tell everybody who's here, and then I'm going to answer this question.
Today, we are joined by our friend, singer-songwriter extraordinaire, John Sanger.
John Sanger's here, everybody. And his first question to us is about my high school wrestling career. Indeed, I did. I started wrestling, I think, sometime around fourth grade, fifth grade, and I wrapped it up my sophomore year of college. I had 1 year of college, and I was like, nah, I'm not into it anymore. I know that's not true. I was totally into it. But I'd also, about that time, discovered that Village Inn Pizza didn't ID, and I could get beer and wings on the regular, and that changed everything. I had decided I would not be dieting anytime soon, and
awesome.
Yeah, and there it was.
That's the part of wrestling that I can relate to.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like the fat Rudy on my wrestling team.
Oh,
like
nice.
I joined to like lose weight and get in shape, and I had like, hair down to my boobs.
Yeah, nice.
One time the real fat kid didn't show up, and the coach was like, "Sanger, we got to go backstage with the tape cutters. Cut that shit off. You're in, bro.
You're in.
We're gonna have to forfeit." And I did it. I cut the shit off. My friends in my band were so pissed.
But dude, that right there's that tells you, dear listener, the character of John Sanger right there, because there was few people probably know this. There was a time in the 80s and 90s, if you were a rock and roll person, dude, long hair was a big deal. I remember like not being able to get into bands because your hair wasn't right. Like I was still growing it out, And I also, here's a little tidbit side trivia for you. George Lynch didn't get the gig with Ozzy because he had cut his hair. It was his gig. He was on the road. He was on the road with Ozzy. George Lynch was doing sound checks while Bernie Torme was playing after Randy Rhoads. So they brought Lynch out, and he was going to be the dude. He was going to be the full-time dude. And then Gillis got in there, did it, and they got Jake E. Lee. But the gig belonged to George Lynch twice. Twice he was up for that gig.
Wow.
All right, there's my hair metal trivia for the day. Scott, what's the subject today?
Well, today we're doing something different, and John Sanger is our guinea pig for this subject. It's we're calling it 5 albums with, and today's 5 albums with John Sanger. We had him pick a rock album, a pop or power pop album, a country album, an R&B or hip hop album, and then an NMD record or a wild card record.
So I am out of order. I missed some of those, but I don't care. I'll tell you what my subjects are when we get to them, or what genre I think they are. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So Sanger is we met because of this podcast. I'm friends with John Sanger.
Oh, is that true? I thought you guys knew each other before this.
No, I was.
Oh, that's weird. I thought you guys for sure ran in the same circle.
No, Scott, I had 2 of his CDs prior to knowing him.
Me too.
I met him at the Tip Top, and then he gave me his newest record, the Sanger Family album. And now we've been to each other's houses, and yeah.
Where would I have met you, John? Where would we have met?
Well, I was a enormous Dutch Henry fan, and on one of me and my wife's first dates, you guys were playing at the Last Chance Saloon.
Wow. Where was that?
Then,
Burton Street.
Yeah, 1132 Burton Street. That's like weird that I know the address of the place.
Well, no, it's not.
It's weird. I play there a lot, actually. So yeah,
that would have been it.
Yeah. I
wow.
I was always a fan of your playing and showmanship
Oh,
and
that's sweet.
Todd's showmanship
Yeah,
and
Todd, for
Yeah.
sure.
Mitch, the melodic bass line while he was singing. And I
Yeah,
mean,
thank you.
I think you and I are probably in the same camp where we both kind of idolize Greg for obvious reasons.
Oh, for sure. I just said that again to someone last night about Greg. Just that, I did, and I've told the story on the show a lot that my first country gigs, I literally just pretended I was him. I just pretended to be him, and pretended to do what he would do. I think I was dressed like him at that time. Yeah, he's great. Mitch Wood is the other guy that I'm glad you said something too. I've never played with anybody who plays bass like Mitch Wood. Never ever. The way he thinks, the way his bass lines are, he's just and a great
Musical.
songwriter. Yeah, musical. Thank you. Yeah. So thank you.
He's not like some dudes are like awesome pocket dudes, and he is that too, but he's more like a country McCartney guy where he's like a really melodic bass player, and I love that.
Yep. I've been fortunate, played with tons of great bass players. When Mitch Wood left Dutch Henry, we continued on. It was still a good band. We still did some good work.
Yeah.
It was never the same. It's always hard as a band when someone goes, your ego wants to be like, well, fuck them, man. We don't need them. But with Mitch, for sure, his absence was felt. So that must be good, right? I mean, if you leave a band and they feel your absence, that must say something about your playing.
I
I
think
leave
Yeah.
bands and motherfuckers forget my last name.
they change their email address and shit.
Exactly right. I go to the door of some shitty bar and the guy's like, hold on, man. You're gonna want to get back in your car.
One of my picks for this week has a line about that,
All
citing.
right.
Well, I won't. I don't.
Well,
I'll
let's
wreck
get
it.
into this. Scott, why don't you open us up with your first pick and genre, please?
Rock.
Thank God.
Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, their first record, BMRC.
Are they super cool, dude?
Oh man. I mean, if you're into, Brian Jonestown, of course, is where
The
Peter
drummer.
Hayes came from.
Oh, wait. Did he play? What was
Peter
that
Hayes,
dude's
he played guitar and
guitar? I
yeah.
thought somebody from like. So I like Brian Jonestown Massacre. I
Yeah.
like that. I group two bands together, of course, and maybe you guys do too. But Dandy Warhols and Brian Jonestown Massacre
Yeah.
are kind of the documentary did that for me. And
Dig, yeah.
yeah, I was just watching a bunch of Dandy's videos the other night because they're on tour right now. But I thought there was some other connection where like maybe someone who played drums in Black Rebel Motorcycle Club played in like Jonestown or the Dandies on drums. I thought.
Well, they have two different drummers. I can't remember her name. The female drummer is right now.
Okay.
Uh, she came on around, I don't remember, maybe Spectre of the Feast, somewhere in the mid, like 2010, 2015, somewhere in there.
What
but
was the hit? The Black Rebel Motorcycle Club quote unquote hit. Wasn't there a radio song?
Whatever happened to my rock and roll, that song? You know that one?
I think I do.
Whatever happened to my rock and roll? Red Eyes and Tears is on there.
I put those guys in with what's that other band that it's a two piece. I think.
Local H?
Nope, they were White Stripes, and then there were these guys. They recorded in Benton Harbor.
Oh, the Black Keys.
Black Keys.
Black Keys, thank you.
Yeah.
Similar?
It's more garagey. If you're in, it's Brian Jonestown sounding more than it's garagey.
More garagey than power pop.
Yes, absolutely.
Gotcha.
It's more rock and garage rock and indie shoegaze, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But
I like
Black
that
Rebel,
shit.
I always thought was the coolest of all of those
Okay.
type of bands. There's another band from the Netherlands called The Birth of Joy that that like that also, and a little Doorsy as well.
Do you guys ever get to a point with like some of that music, like I don't know, indie, whatever you called it, where it's so cool to have shitty recording quality that you can't really hear everything and it's so poorly and everyone's like calling it lo-fi. It's like it's
Right.
not lo-fi. You just don't know how to mic up a fucking guitar cabinet, dude.
Right. These guys' records sound great though.
Yeah,
So
I like that. I
And
like
what's
that.
weird about that too is that I kind of probably fell in love with that genre like a lot of people did, but is it Arbach? Is that the dude, Black Keys dude?
Dan
Yes,
Arbach,
Dan
yeah.
Arbach. Yeah.
His solo record, I think, is kind of cooler than Black Keys. It's a little bit more like Americana country thing, but he's got a bunch of like 75-year-old dudes that can actually play.
Yeah,
And
killer.
like and he just focused on really good songs instead of like catchy shit,
Yeah.
you know? And I don't know, for what it's worth. I don't even remember
I
the name
just
of the record, but
Wow,
it's
that's
really
okay
good.
because I just wrote it down. I just put his name in solo album. So all right. I'm going to open up with my alt country pick. My alt country pick today, obviously, Scott and I, I was just thinking you and I are gonna get to do this a lot. So we're gonna get to spit out some of our favorites in all these genres a
Yeah.
lot because we're gonna have several shows with this topic. But my alt country pick today is Six String Drag, and it's the album Hi Hat,
Hi-hat.
which is to me, and I think even they might say this is their definitive moment. Although the albums after that would be stuff like Top of the World and some of those later
Yep.
albums are
Top of
just
the World's great.
kick ass too. But that Six String Drag record Hi Hat was one of those ones I talk about that maybe like in I don't know what year it was now, or 2000s or something, maybe even late 90s.
97.
Yeah. So that I got that in 97 because it was another one of those no depression things. You
Yep.
subscribe to no depression and you could pick a record from and at that time this was on E Squared on Steve Earle's label. So I took Hi Hat, I think. I think that's how I got it, or a buddy pirated it for me. One of those two things. But it's just a kick-ass album. Kenny Roby's a great songwriter. He's a hero of mine, who's become a friend who I really love, and I love everything he does. His solo stuff's good. But Six String Drag is a definitive alt country album. It's just
If you like Elvis
it's
Costello, you'll be a fan of Six String Drag.
and he's got a great Kenny Roby has a great singing voice in the
Yeah.
alt country genre. That's always the weakness. The weakness is always voice because you're always a person like me who can't sing will go, well, it's about the words and my super important fucking songwriting. And really what it is it's like it would sound, would I sing like one of those huge great singers if I could? Of course you would. It would only help get your songs to an audience. But when you can't, then you pretend you're a songwriter and say stuff about, well, no one like Dylan and Neil Young's voice as if you're writing songs that good. So yeah, I have Six String Drag's Hi Hat as my alt country record. All right, what do you got, John? What you starting with?
Well, I just gotta tip my hat to Benting, Rain Man and You with the date 1997. Like,
Dude, that's
like
why
there
he's
was any
here.
doubt that he was gonna know what year that
He's
came.
here for dumbass jazz records and dates I don't remember. That's literally what he's doing. And if you forget who played drums in some weird ass hair metal band that had one video that appeared one time on MTV, Scott will also go, oh, you mean the drummer so and so who's in so and so now? He's good for that kind of thing too.
Why I feel so unqualified because you guys are like throwing out records and I'm like, it's the one with the tree on it. Like,
Well, that's sure. That's how I would be too.
um, all right, so I'm gonna stroke you guys' ego and start with something that you guys turned me on to,
Nice.
which is American Aquarium.
Dude, that's
So
a Benting.
yeah, well, I'm gonna go. I had to kind of I wasn't sure what order we were gonna go in, so I went from the most of the other records I picked I were ones that I bought and they lived in my CD player for 6 months or whatever.
Right.
You guys turned me on to this like within the last year or something. So it's me driving around for work, just Bluetooth and Spotify, and I wasn't sure which songs were on which record and shit. So I
Yeah.
just randomly picked Dances for the Lonely because
Oh,
I hope I broke because I hope
Venting.
he broke your heart. I was like,
true story too.
dude, I mean, right now the way I'm trying to write, like that cat is pretty much the master at how I'm
He
trying
is
to
a
approach.
savage. He's right
Yeah,
there
man.
behind David Ramirez for me.
And Scott, you mentioned that very line on this show.
Yeah.
You mentioned that aquarium line. Yeah.
I mean, they got a ton of them I like. Even she was a wolf in thrift store clothing. Like
Yeah,
they're littered through the whole thing, like, and they're not pretentious enough to be like, what a fucking douche, you know? It's
Yeah.
just,
right.
I mean, man, but yeah, but
Yeah, that's a good Benting. That's a Benting. He brought that. He brought that around these parts. He brought, and my story about American Aquarium is Scott sent me an album, and I threw it on the desktop of one of these computers down here. And anytime I'm like seeing if a speaker is on or whatever I'm doing, it's that. And the opening song on that record that you gave me, Scott, is "Family Problem,"
Oh yeah, it's Wolves. Yep.
which is just such a kick-ass song. I mean, I love that song
Great
right
record.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's cool. I just saw them do a cover of something. I don't know what it was. Found it on the internet. It was them covering something. I don't
Yeah.
remember what it was.
Man.
that band too. I mean, songwriting aside, that
Yeah.
band is just holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
Throw
He
down,
finds the
dude.
great guys out there,
Is
especially
that
like Pedal Steel. It's so hard to find those guys.
Is it
Right.
just you guys will have to educate me. Is that like a solid lineup or is he just right and then he just puts together dudes that are awesome?
I think his lineup is solid, isn't it, Scott?
It was a solid lineup until Wolves. Well, actually, the album Burn Flicker Die, Jason Isbell produced that record,
Oh,
and
he did.
they were just kind of going out on a last hurrah. Like, screw it, we're not gonna make it. Let's just blow the rest of our money, sign Jason Isbell to produce this record. And when they went out on tour, they just noticed everybody's singing along to like all their stuff. So they kept going. They did Wolves, and the rest of the guys pretty much bailed.
Mm.
Gotcha.
And it
Huh.
was just BJ. And then he did a solo record, and then he put a new band together. And since then, I think it's pretty much been the same since like his sober records after Wolves.
That there was a live track on one of the playlists that was just rolling while I was driving around for work and holy shit, man. That Merchant, I know this is your alley, but that fucking B3 player was just
Yeah.
smoking, dude.
Yeah. Good luck finding one of those.
Holy shit, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't find a lot of, at least in my 36 years now, B3 players. First of all, you wouldn't know hardly anyone. We probably have a handful of people we know own a B3. I have a smaller handful of people who would move that thing anywhere.
I know.
And I also, what I get is people my age who play keyboards who came up in the 80s. So you can't get them to stop playing like eighth notes or quarter notes over everything. Everything goes dee, 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 dee. And like right now, my favorite keyboard player, and you guys will crack up at this, and he is Todd Long. He
Nice.
plays great keyboard parts, really smart, cool. You know, he just has that musical gift. You know, so what do you got, Scott? Are you up?
I'll
Yeah,
take my power pop record is Survivor's Vital Signs.
you've name checked Survivor a lot.
That record is so killer. It's the first one with Jimmy Jameson. I don't know which were the hits off that one. Probably like um oh, First Night maybe. I don't know. Well,
Is Jimmy Jameson the singer guy? Is he the real Man of Genius singer?
I think so.
I think
One of
he
those.
is.
It's not Bickler, I don't think.
I think it's that dude who sings the hook for those commercials.
The previous records before Vital Signs are both great too. But that was my first um Survivor record. I bought it in Cadillac, Michigan. I remember at a store. I
Ah,
was with my parents, and I was mad at myself for buying it on vinyl because I couldn't listen to it until I got home.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's funny.
but that is cool. That's a cool record to have on vinyl though.
Oh man,
I
that
don't
was
even remember what the fucking green thing on the front
yep.
is like. Is it the logo? What is I don't even remember what it is, but
It
I
was
remember
like
it's
the vital sign. You know, it was like
the
a
oh
the
yeah.
sign, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, the vital signs thing at a hospital or something.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
awesome. That's definitely the kind of thing that is cooler on a record than on a CD. It's cool that size.
Yeah,
When it's kind of worn out with the circle on it and shit when you pull it out.
Oh yeah, you can see the outline of the vinyl record in there. Yeah, that's pretty badass. And no one can separate stems and seeds on a CD cover.
Fucking A.
My next pick is pop. I'm calling it pop, but it's power pop. It is power pop. You might deny me, Benting. This is a power pop record, but I'm going to say pop so you don't yell at me. It's Duran Duran's Rio.
Absolutely, that's power pop.
It's I just re-listened the other day, man, and it's like a Chic record. I don't know if Nile Rodgers is involved in those records. I wonder if he is. I bet he is. I'm gonna look. Scott, you'll find
That's
that
their
out.
second one, right?
Rio, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know. This is pure listening, just as a listener. I feel like Nile Rodgers is involved in that record.
Probably.
I don't know, but the other thing about Rio is it's the blueprint for like those 80s pop songs. All those songs, those singles were fantastic. The videos were fantastic. And the other thing is John Taylor, man, is one of the world's best bass players who no one ever mentions, ever.
Yeah.
And he's just such those to stick bass lines like that in those 80s pop songs where all the other bass lines were usually some sort of synth bass thing going right, and all the Duran Duran bass lines he's funky and poppy and slappy and and the guitars. The reason I wonder about Nile Rodgers is like, to me, all Andy Taylor's guitars, those little stabs always sounded like something you'd hear on like a Chic record or something like that, some sort of disco.
Produced by Colin Thurston.
I wonder who the hell that is.
Yeah.
So Duran Duran's Rio was that's my power
pop
record.
Speaking of John Taylor, he played on that record I texted you about yesterday, Merchant, the Neurotic Outsiders.
Really? I didn't know that.
John Taylor on bass on that record.
What Duff do? Play guitar?
Duff played guitar, and Matt Sorum played drums, and then Steve Jones played
from the Pistols, man.
Yep, and then him and Duff played guitar.
Let's take a side trip real quick. Did you hear who's playing guitar for Alice Cooper right now?
Gilby Clarke.
Gilby Clarke's in Alice Cooper's band. Yeah, and I think he's taking Nita's place, maybe.
No, it's somebody else.
So it's either Ryan Roxy or that Fredrickson.
Nita Strauss.
That seems perfect for me. I felt like some of the guitar dudes were a little bit too shreddy at times.
Yeah, Gilby will be there's been so many cool Alice Cooper guitar players. Because Jason Hook was in the band for a while, the guy from Five Finger Death Punch. Oren Thani played with him for a while.
I think that's who's taking a break right now. That's why Gilby's filling in.
Is Nita Strauss not in Alice Cooper's band anymore?
I don't know. I thought she left and then went back.
I think she's back. I don't know. So anyhow, I think
it's
Gilby
Nita and Gilby right now, though.
Because there's normally 3 guitar players.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a grumpy old man when it comes to Alice Cooper. I want to hear like a underwound like SG 70s through a
Kane Roberts or something,
and not
even
he was cool to look at on stage. Like
I always thought he looked awkward. I think when you're that muscled up, the guitar looks weird. Look at Hulk Hogan holding a bass sometimes.
At the point when I went to see that show, I was like little fat kid, like lifting weights, like trying to be on the wrestling team. I was like lifting weights so hard and trying to shred so hard. So
he was perfect.
It was ridiculous, but it was everything that I wanted to be. That was totally dumb at the same time.
It's funny you say that, because like I had a buddy who was a bodybuilder, literally a bodybuilder. He was into like competitions and everything, and he was starting to play guitar. His name's Shane Mao. He passed away, but he that was his boy too. He's like, yeah, Kane Roberts looks cool, man. I could do that, because his BC Rich always looked weird. Because typically guitar players are these skinny, out of shape, rail heroin chic
too.
Yeah, and Kane Roberts remember his machine gun guitar?
Yes.
Yeah, that's good shit right there. He had a solo record, man.
Man, I forgot that existed until you brought it up, man.
Yeah, man. That's good shit. All right, what do you got next, John? Or is it me?
I don't know.
No, I did. I have done 2. Let's go to you, John. What do you got?
I'm just engrossed in stories. So my power pop, and rock stuff is not too far apart because I'm poppier than one might think. So I guess I'll go rock first. And I'm gonna go Nick Lowe in his cowboy outfit.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Cool.
I don't remember. I think I was recording the first record. Talk about B3. We hauled a C3 into Bruce and Wendy's basement
Nice
to
killer.
record that record and almost fucked up the van trying to get it
That's
in.
the one with the train on the cover?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's and talk about B3 players. That was Rob Cookman from Knee Deep Shag. John,
Oh yeah, I bet that's great.
he's a fucking monster. Yeah, he's in like New York doing like Broadway and shit now.
Because he's a unicorn. Anybody who can play that, and play
And-
those things well.
And he's a savant. Like he can like play spoons and fucking like anything you put in front of him. He's like a
Nice.
West Virginia kid, so he can do this weird like redneck shit, and he can play like Bach, and I don't know, he's crazy. Anyway, I somebody told me that my writing reminded them of Nick Lowe or something. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I need to check that out. And yeah, so
God.
sometime in the early 2000s, I went down that rabbit hole, and I was like, wow, this dude has a lot of cool songs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Very, very tons, really. And you know who lives in that world with me? Nick Lowe and Dave Edmunds and Elvis Costello all live in kind of the same world in my head. Those guys are all kind of grouped together for me for some reason.
And I get compared to those dudes a lot, which is why I started listening to more of them. And I think it's honestly, I think it's just random drunk dudes because I wear fucking Ray-Bans. Like,
Yeah.
I have kind of like a baritone voice and I wear Ray-Bans. So they're, hey, you're like, you should cover more Elvis Costello when I'm playing at the bar,
Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? I would say if people are telling you sound like Elvis Costello and Nick Lowe, I would just keep doing whatever you're fucking doing, man.
Yeah.
I'll take it for sure.
I get a lot of, you sound like my drunk Uncle Floyd at Thanksgiving. He made up a song about the fucking gravy. All right. Well, Scott, throw one out. What do you got?
My country record is Angelino from Sam Outlaw.
A name you've popped. I think I've heard you mention before.
Yeah, he's from South Dakota. He's via LA now, but maybe in Nashville. I don't know. He might have moved out of LA, but this is his first full-length record. He had an EP before that, but he was an advertising guy who just played music on the side at open mics and stuff and just decided to quit his high-paying job and go for music. And his friend Joaquin Cooter, whose dad Ry Cooter played guitar on this record.
Well, that helps.
It's got guys from oh shit, what's his name? I can't remember the other two bands. They have a record called Z. Oh shoot, doesn't matter. But it's all stars playing on this record, and Ry frickin' Cooter.
Well, that's what I just said, man. I mean, it's not everybody can go.
And Sam is a killer songwriter. These are like SoCal sounding songs. He throws the horns in on some of it. But man, the man can write a song, and he's different on all of his records, which I love. Like his record after this called Tender Heart is really cool, and he's got a song on there that sounds like a Mellencamp song, but
cool.
And then he's got a record after that called Popular Mechanics, which sounds like an 80s record, and he's just
that's cool.
He's amazing.
That's a great name for an 80s sounding record too.
But yeah, he sounds like he'd be an alt country, outlaw type of country, but you listen to it and you're like, what the? His name does not reflect the music.
Okay.
It was his mother's maiden name, and he just thought it sounded cooler than Sam Morgan.
Yeah, I don't think that checks out.
Yeah.
Although Sam Morgan, isn't there? I feel like there's a top 40 country singer.
There's a Morgan
something
Wallen.
Morgan. That's who I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking.
I don't want to talk about that.
Well, I'm going to put my. I'm going to
don't put Scott in that space, man.
Yeah.
Well, you can
that
see
guy
how
should be setting. That guy should be setting
how
pins in a fucking bowling alley.
You can see how important he was to me when I said, "There's someone with a Morgan, isn't there?" My country record for today is a twofer because I'm doing two albums that I consider by the same artist. Number one is Waylon's Honky Tonk Heroes.
Yeah.
Number two is Shaver Live at Smith's Old Bar, Unshaven. because those are all Shaver songs.
Yep.
And the best part about Honky Tonk Heroes to me is that, like, Billy Joe Shaver threatened to beat Waylon's ass if he didn't record the songs, and then sat there while he recorded them and would chime in enough that, like, Waylon told him he had to leave, and Billy Joe Shaver, and they got into like I don't know if it was a shoving match or what, but Billy Joe Shaver's like, I'm not leaving. These are my songs, and I'll watch you do them, and I'll tell you what to do, you know? Because when Billy Joe met Waylon, he had a guitar, and he told Waylon told him, like, you know, he's like, I want to play my songs for you. Waylon was like, yeah, all right, man, you know, you play one, and if it's any good, you can play another one. So the story is Billy Joe Shaver sat there for like the next 2 hours playing songs. And eventually Waylon said, I want to do an album of just your songs. And it was Honky Tonk Heroes.
Yeah, that's cool, man.
Who know, you know, a lot of these new country outlaw dudes, none of them ever talk about Billy Joe Shaver, which is how I can kind of tell.
Is Billy Joe the dude that's missing a couple fingers?
Yeah.
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 Yep.
It's
yep.
cool.
Still
watching
plays
him play,
guitar.
and I mean, I mean, his band was so good. I couldn't tell how much he was really playing, but I'm like, clearly he was steering the boat.
None of them are, none of them are name checking guys like Tom T. Hall either. Or so.
No.
That's bullshit, dude. Those dudes don't get
these guys that like Sturgill Simpson. They're playing dress up.
This is Scott's ranting. Here we fucking go. Here we go with Scott ranting. Okay, so anyhow, mine was I'm gonna say Honky Tonk Heroes by Waylon. What's your next one, John?
I guess Power Pop is next, which this probably is not Power Pop, but for the older records, I tried to do ones that I was really changed shit for me. And this one is the Ben Folds unauthorized biography of Reinhold Messner, which is like that's like fucking Abbey Road to me. Like the whole record just completely captivates me.
Really liked his hit record. I don't have anything else, but I bought that hit record. Remember, it had the big single on it, the abortion single.
Yeah.
Yes,
still makes me cry whenever I hear it,
dude. What a that I like. I don't know Ben Folds material a lot other than that big record. I wish I could remember what it was called now. It's over there, I'm sure. But what a killer songwriter, right? I mean,
you should listen to his book, John.
I wonder if my son would like it.
I read his book. His book is fantastic.
Is it?
Yeah, very good.
I got a book I'm on right now. I got to get through, and then
I went through a brief thing during COVID when I started listening to you guys, and what's his ass on the record, Rick Rubin had him on, and that episode was pretty interesting. Like
Scott and I were just talking about Rick Rubin recently.
Yeah, I mean, Rick Rubin. Could you have a more worthless person in the studio than Rick Rubin?
I wish I could figure out what. I wish I could figure out.
Why do people give that asshat money?
It's weird. I think he was just around when a lot of cool shit happened.
He knows nothing about running a board.
I don't know what his deal. I'll tell you this. I
don't get it.
I've seen a lot of Rick Rubin, like in people's studios, laying on the couch.
Yeah,
is it that guy? And a lay on the couch guy. Well, I mean, I think everybody needs that sounding board. I have said before, dude,
seems like,
is that his thing? I mean, he
seems like he was like in the middle of pitching them some health supplements or something, and he just weaseled his way in the studio.
He was first. He was my yoga
instructor, bro, to like fucking get them selling.
He taught me yoga, and then the next thing I knew, he was producing the record.
He's like Mr. Cheezel on the
Grandpa's boy or Grandma's boy.
Yeah, and Grandma's boy. What the hell does that guy do?
Mr. Cheezel. Hey, Mr. Cheezel. Hey, Dante.
Dude,
I don't know. Rick,
one of the reels or like TikTok things I was scrolling by the other day, he was like, and sometimes we just put words in there that don't even pertain to the story. They just sound cool as vowel sounds. And I'm like, dude, you're like regurgitating weird Mutt Lang shit from the 80s.
And he talked about it when he was on Rogan. He said like, he doesn't know how to run boards. He doesn't know. What is your
I don't think he plays. I don't think he plays anything. So
plays a little guitar.
I mean, we have to say something's happening there. I mean, he's directing Johnny Cash and Tom Petty, and so
Yeah.
something's going on there. I know he and I fell out of love due to a record called Shake Your Money Maker.
Mhm.
So the first 100,000, 60,000, whatever, no, 100,000 copies of Shake Your Money Maker, he's not on. There's no Rick Rubin's name's not on it. When they started to sell for production from 100,000 on, he's executive producer.
Wow.
Threw his name on Shake Your Money Maker. He's the guy. Rick Rubin's the guy who told the Crows to change their name to the Cobb County Crows, all with K's. All with K's. The Cobb County Crows.
Oh, he was the KKK dude?
That's him.
I heard that story, but I didn't know
it was Rubin, but probably trying to be outrageous, right? Or trying, he comes from the Beastie Boys and stuff like that, I mean.
Yeah.
Anyhow, enough ranting about Rick Rubin. Who did you bring him up, Sanger? See what you did?
Yeah.
You tricked Scott.
Yeah, I'm not helping matters any.
Go ahead, Scott. What do you got next?
My hip hop R&B record. It's more of an R&B record. It's a guy from Ann Arbor, Michigan. His name is Mayer Hawthorne. And
I know that name.
Is called "Where Does This Door Go?" He's got Kendrick Lamar on that record.
Kid likes Kendrick Lamar.
It's a cool song. I don't know anything about Kendrick Lamar outside of that song and that he's playing at the Super Bowl. But
I don't know a lot of new hip hop, but that name comes up. That Kendrick Lamar name
is killer. Just writes cool R&B stuff, like mixes in old school Motown type of stuff, and I'm just into it. He writes club bangers, man.
You do like a club banger.
White Wine Glass Woman is on that record. Problemization. It starts out with this raunchy scene, and then it's the song after that's called Backseat Lover, which is awesome. And then Crime is the song with Kendrick Lamar. It's a fun record.
I don't know. There's a couple new rappers that my son will name Kendrick Lamar.
Not a rapper, Mayer. He sings, but
no, I'm talking about Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, Kendrick.
Yeah,
Lamar.
Like I don't know anything about that dude.
And those guys.
I don't know any of those people.
Popular now. Drake's Canadian.
A hotbed of rap. That's where Daddy Snow came from. Informer.
Canadian rappers can't be tough. I mean, All Apologies was the #1 song by Nirvana in Canada because they do is apologize.
That's all they could relate.
Sorry.
You know what? And don't ever say that Canadian rappers can't be hard, because J-Rock and the Rock Pile from Trailer Park Boys, that's hip hop. That's legendary Canadian hip hop. My hair metal pick today is an album that I know my brother Scott Benting would back me 1,000% on as a hair metal masterpiece. It's the album Strength by Enough's Enough.
Oh, their second record, right?
Yes.
1991, I believe.
Yep. Killer, right?
Oh my God, yes. It's better than the first one.
Way better than the first one. And they're such Beatle fanatics. Chip and Donnie are such Beatle fanatics. It's Beatle-y. It's a modern Beatle record.
It is.
Or a modern Cheap Trick record, or a modern Big Star record.
Yeah.
And one of these days, I'm going to ask like Chips Enough or Donnie V if they're Big Star fans. I wonder because there's something there where they'd heard that in there. I know you can hear the Beatles, of course, but I wonder if they were Big Star. I'm going to send a message after this and ask. I'm going to ask Chips Enough if he liked Big Star.
Enough's Enough time, I remember totally at the same time digging Saigon Kick at the same time.
Oh yeah, Love Is on the Way.
Beatle-y too.
That dude, Jason Beller, I think his name is.
Beeler,
thank you. He went on to like produce, and he did some
pals with Zach. We talked about him quite a bit when I the second time I got to meet Zach.
Was Zach Wild's friends with him?
Yeah. Because Jason took over on vocals after the Love Is on the Way record, the Lizard, I think it's called.
Yeah, the Lizard, yeah.
Jason took over on vocals on the record right after that called Water.
Oh.
Which is
Matt
really
something
awesome
was
record. They do Space Oddity on that record.
Yeah, that's a good cover.
Badass.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, that single Love Is on the Way, that C sharp minor thing, was That was a great jam back in the day.
Yeah,
And
that
it
was
came at
with
a
the,
weird time though.
Yeah.
I feel like it was early 90s
it was like 92, I think, or something.
because
It was
grunge
just-
was out. Grunge was
Yeah.
definitely out.
The
Yeah.
first
was-
Saigon
it was
Kick
really
record had
weird.
like a picture of all four of them on front,
Black and
and
white.
that one didn't really do a lot.
The
But
Lizard was the big one, right?
Lizard was the big one. Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw those guys in like Tampa or something.
Oh, was
Yeah,
it cool?
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah, they were kind of different. They remind you know why you like them? Like that Lizard era. There was something Doorsy about them.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've always been a fan of Jason Bieler. He's
Yep.
great.
Yeah, I could hear that for sure. Yeah, so my hair metal pick was Enough's Enough. On to John. What do you got?
R&B / hip hop was kind of a stretch for me. Because I'm probably in the same boat with both of you guys, where that's not my like strong suit. So I went back to 94 because for like 6 months I couldn't stop listening to the first G Love and Special Sauce album.
Oh, I remember that record.
Because the drums and upright bass with just enough of that primitive slide guitar and like rappy kind of shit. The lyrics and shit were horrible, but that band could fucking blow, dude. The fucking pocket was amazing in that band.
You know,
Killer.
GRD really got on board with G Love. The station GRD, they were
Yeah.
playing a lot, and that band was playing around here a lot. Hey, John, do you like Rocco DeLuca? Have you ever heard that name?
I've heard the name, but
Dude,
I'm like senile, so
Yeah, I think the album is called I Trust You to Kill Me. It's by Rocco DeLuca and the Burden. Dude, it is you will love that. You will love it, dude. It's so good. You know that record, Scott?
I do not know.
Yeah, check
I
it
know
out.
the name as well, but
You know who was kind of at one point was tour managing. They were in a van tour, and their tour manager for a whole run, I think a whole European run, was Kiefer Sutherland.
oh wow.
wow.
Yeah,
You know who else
yeah.
Keeper Sutherland was involved with somehow or friends with, and I've been listening to him a bit lately, was Jude Cole. You remember
Oh yeah,
Cole?
yep, I do. Yeah,
Start
I
the
don't know. Kiefer
Car,
plays.
I think was his big song.
I think Kiefer plays. I
He
don't know
played
what
on
plays
his
guitar. I think,
record before that, I think. Yeah.
which sort of sucks because you're like it's Kiefer Sutherland, and instantly his guitar playing loses credibility. Like Johnny Depp,
Dude.
everyone's like it's Johnny Depp. I did play.
Dude, you know what's really funny about that was what is it? Dog Star? Is that fucking what's his ass name?
Keanu.
Yes, Keanu Reeves.
I went to that show, dude. Yeah, it was like dad rock or whatever, but dude, it was so much fun watching him enjoy himself. Like he was not faking that, dude. He was having so
Yeah.
much fun. And the opening band was fucking killer too. I can't remember the name because again, I'm senile, but surprisingly, it was a great show, dude. Somebody
And
got
it
free
sucks that
tickets.
it sucks
went.
that you can't be that. You know, he can't because he's good in another art. You know, his talent transcends to a couple different art mediums. It's like you can't be a guitar player anymore. I mean, people hate Johnny Depp. They're like, what's he playing with Joe Perry for? Joe Perry's not going to play with someone who sucks. I'm telling you, I don't care if it's
No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're
he's
not doing it for charity.
there's no point. It's Alice Cooper, like the vampires, you know.
Yeah.
It's Alice Cooper and Joe Perry, and those guys have no need for Johnny Depp's name, really.
No.
I mean, there'd be some novelty there, I'm sure, but you could also get Steven Seagal to be in the band if you need novelty. Or
Yeah, he can play. He can shred.
Corey Feldman could solo over your shit.
Corey Feldman. God.
There you go. Wait till we do a Guitar Heroes episode.
Oh, jeez.
All right. So what do you got next, Scott? It's you.
I just have my NMD record.
Well, yeah, I'm at my wild card too. What's your NMD record?
Ike Riley Assassination.
Man.
Sparkle in the finish.
Why do I feel like Ike Riley is a? Where's Ike from?
I just ordered
Libertyville,
Salesman and
Illinois.
Racist for your recommendation.
You did.
I YouTubed it. I haven't watched that documentary yet, but I was like, holy shit, this is really great. I love it because you're never sure what's going to come out of his fucking mouth, you know?
No, you're not.
It's amazing. And I'm like, this is refreshing compared to like looking at Facebook and seeing what my friends are saying and being like, wait, is that because they're an asshole or is that because they're making fun of assholes? Like, I have to think way too much just in society now.
Yeah.
But when it's just a piece of art, I'm like, it's refreshing to do that instead of just doing it in daily life. I don't know what it is, but it was the perfect time for me to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it
Really cool.
before. He's like a punk rock Dylan and Paul Westerberg mixed together.
Yeah, it's weird. Cool. Yeah, I love it.
Wow. A punk rock
I'm
Dylan.
going to see him in like 3 weeks. I cannot wait.
Where's that at, Scott?
It's in a town called Three Oaks, Michigan. It's like
Oh
two
yeah.
miles from the Michigan border. It's called the Acorn Theater.
Yep, I've heard of that place.
Yeah, it's like an hour and a half away or something. So
I feel like there might have been a Robbie Fulks gig
I've
there.
been waiting since like well, yeah, Sparkle in the Finish came out in like '04, I think, or '05. I don't know, but I got
That
that first and I went back and got Salesman and Racist, and I've been following them ever since. But I took, when you listen to as much music as we listen to, you take breaks from people for a while.
Oh yeah.
And then I read this book last year, and there was a whole chapter on Ike Riley, and it just reignited my love for him, and I've been on ever since. And now I'm
I'm
going
gonna
to
check.
see him, and I can't wait.
I'll check that out.
how did he take it when you told him he had to take a break for a while?
Yeah. It's
Pretty
not you,
much,
it's me.
yeah. It's not you. It's there's so much out there, Ike. I got to explore other things.
I'm still not over the other bands I listen to.
Sorry, I left you for Houndmouth for a while.
Exactly. A formal apology. I hope we can still be friends. I called it Wild Card because this is not an NMD record at all. This is an album that I believe everybody should own. I wholeheartedly believe everybody should own this. Especially, I got this at the prime time in my life. When I had one of my earliest four track cassette recorder that sounded like shit and hissed, and you couldn't get a good stereo drum sound to save your life.
Is it a
But
Boztec?
My first one was I think it was a Tascam.
Okay.
No, I take that back. It was called a Vestifier. That might,
Whoa.
maybe. And that was because I had a 2-track one too. My first ever was 2 tracks, and then the 4-track. And so you're always bummed because nothing ever sounds cool on it. I mean, because it sounds like here's your guitar's always really bad. But Springsteen's Nebraska is Springsteen at his kitchen table with a 4-track. He overdubs his own. He must have a reverb unit somewhere because he'll there's times in Nebraska where Springsteen just has parts where he's going whoo, whoo, yeah in the background, right, with a bunch of reverb on it. It's him and his guitar, and it's all those classic Springsteen tunes that nobody, and damn it, nobody better. Someone just not ripped a song off me, but sent me a message and went, "Hey man, heard you guys doing that song. We're gonna start doing it now too." And I'm like, "Well, now I'm not doing it anymore. Thanks for everything." But
that'd be like
the
show idea. Some other podcast.
Exactly.
The show idea.
Exactly. So I like off Nebraska, that has Atlantic City, which is a huge song for Springsteen to this day. The band cover of it is really super good when the band recorded it.
Hank 3 does a cover of it.
Yes. It's a great
the
song.
Badleys do a cover of it.
I think the band's version of it's pretty cool. Levon on mandolin, Jim Keltner on drums, I think. But there's also songs on there like Johnny 99, State Troopers, and their Highway Patrolman's on there, Stolen Car, that there's a version of on Patty Griffin's album, the big album she had. It had a song called Chief on it. I think it was called Passion something. But she covers Stolen Car by Springsteen on there. It's really good. But Nebraska's just told me that if you stripped away all the E Street Band and all the people I love, Miami Steve and Max, and you take the big man out, you still end up with these. It's just him and a guitar, and the songs stand up on their own. Yeah. So everything on Born to Run you can play with an acoustic guitar, start to finish, and it'll all sound good. There'll never be a song there where you're like, I can't get a working version of this. Mm-hmm. But yet there are albums we all know where you can't even work up an acoustic version of it because there is no instrument really playing during the whole thing. It's a keyboard pad here and it's a weird noise here. My wife and I got in an argument about Wilco the other night. But anyhow, Yeah, my last wild card pick is Springsteen's
Dude, we gotta
Nebraska.
have, since you brought up the band, we gotta have a moment of silence for Garth too, because he's the
Oh
last
man.
one to
Yeah,
go.
the last. Have
Sad, man.
I had seen? Of course, I'm such a huge fan of the band that I mean, I have books on the Basement Tapes. I've seen documentaries, but to watch him, Robbie Robertson would say like he'd be back behind that bank of keyboards and stuff, and always doing two hands, but never like one hand's walking over here and this one's doing
Yeah,
this thing.
yeah,
But Robbie Robertson said like the dude would sit there behind the keyboards and then he just kind of something would hit him when they were writing and he'd come up with these parts like boom, there they were.
yeah,
And you know the classic to me, the classic Garth part is Cripple Creek is his the
Yeah.
harpsichord thing through the wah pedal.
yeah,
Who was doing that then?
yeah.
Who even thought about? And of course, like you guys, I'm sure, and like everyone in the world, we all thought it was a jaw harp. You know, wow, 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 that little jaw harpy thing, and it was him on the keyboards and a wah pedal. So yeah,
My dog's nickname is Honey Boy.
I said there you go.
I call him Honey Boy all the time.
Yeah, love the band.
Oh,
Good moment of peace for Garth. All right, what's your last pick, John? You got something for us?
Yeah, my NMD pick is so NMD that I'm probably not even gonna say it right.
Oh,
It's called Death Holes, band out of Chicago.
okay.
And I saw them open for Wilco at
Mm-hmm.
the Kalamazoo State Theater and was just blown away. They're super strange. And the coolest thing was when they came out on stage, I went with Jeff Maley and some of the dudes from Knee Deep Shag because that was, I think we were just finishing recording that Train album.
mhm.
And so we all went to that show together and um, the Death Holes dudes from the stage shouted out Knee Deep Shag, like
Oh, nice.
open the show. Um, yeah, it was really cool. So anyhow, I wouldn't even know how to explain it. I wrote down to explain it if anybody wants to check it out that it's if the movie Mars Attacks was a band, it would be this. Fucking weird. It's just really fucking weird.
Oh, that's great. That's
And like
great.
spacey and like analog keyboards and like referencing like 1950s like space shit and it's just
Cool.
really odd but
So is it
totally
like a
amazing.
jazzy exotica record, sort of?
It's a mishmash of everything. I'm not surprised that they're not a household name. You can tell that it's a bunch of dudes that went to music school because there's theremins and weird analog keyboards, and it's like Radiohead, Kid A, and thrash and pop, and it's just
Hmm.
fucking
Wow,
really,
cool.
it's wild and weird and cool. And they have other records, and because I to research this because I was like I didn't wasn't even sure if I'd be able to find my record. Um, and I just went on Bandcamp. I'm like, shit, they have like 3 albums out since that one. I'm a
Oh,
shit
wow.
fan, so I got to check it out.
Yeah.
Which would and being weird and like you said, all that. I mean, that's why they're keeping company with Wilco or and you know, you said they opened for Wilco, right?
They did, and
Yeah.
obviously they. I think they just got enough going in their hometown to like draw Wilco's attention, and Wilco probably wanted to support them because they're, I guess, sonically from the just do whatever the fuck they want, taking risk thing. They have that in common with Wilco, maybe, but stylistically, there's nothing in common. You could tell Wilco was just like, that's pretty cool. And they had like silly string, so they're just rocking out, like shooting everybody with silly string during the show. It was like awesome. Yeah, great show.
That sounds like a nice evening with Wilco. And
Yeah, my wife thoroughly enjoyed it.
all right, so that takes us all through our five, I think. Um, Scott, any parting, not any parting words yet, but any parting thoughts? You got anything that made your B list?
I
Any weird
had
stuff that, of
there's a
course you did.
record by that I think Sanger would be into if you haven't heard of her. Brennan Lee, she's a guitar player from Texas. She does a record called Before the World Was Made with this guy Noel McKay where they do just all duets.
Ooh,
Mm,
And it's right up your type of songwriting, John. I think that's a
cool.
cool record that And I also had Midazoland on my list, John. So with you to go with your Rio.
Nice.
Yeah, I didn't have too much on my B list. I think I had six string drag hi hat. I also in parentheses here put a pretty much all that six string drag stuff is pretty
Yeah.
good. Is pretty alt country and in the best of ways. Kenny Roby has a solo song called All Trains Lead to Cocaine. Have you heard that tune?
Yeah.
It's really good. He was doing some of the best COVID streams from
He still does them now and then.
Yes, he does. I sent him a message not too long ago, usually around birthday times or sobriety dates or shit. We get a little message back and forth. And I had told him, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, why does your little live streams, why do they sound so good? He's doing them at home. And he just has one kick-ass mic and a cool Gibson, like something like you would play, John. I think he's got a really nice J45 or something. It just sounds bitchin'. Yeah, exactly. These are what the pros use. These are what the pro guys are throwing around out there in the streets. But
we played, what did we play? Sit and Spin, your song on the show, right, John?
Yeah. Thanks, man.
That was from the New American Playlist record, and you can find that on Spotify. We'll have a link to your stuff.
Yeah, John is a prolific writer, so there's a lot of material to choose from. And the other thing for us locally too is a lot of John's records have some of the best musicians we have in the area are contributing to John's records too, which is really cool. And I can remember getting maybe it was the family album one. I feel like I got that at this'll date all of us. I think I got that at Jukes. I feel like I got that at Jukes for some reason. And
that would be the Trainwreck one, because when that guy, who was that guy that owned Jukes? He was the nicest guy, man.
Dave.
Yeah. Sold it, and then it kind of fell apart after that. But
I learned about Lucero from him, I think.
Yeah, that dude was awesome, man.
We had that Sanger record was in Dutch Henry's van for a long time. That was in our van for a long time. Yeah. We got it leaving. That was the same night that a dude in the alley behind Jukes, someone was back there buying t-shirts and stuff. We were getting ready to leave and someone wanted t-shirts. Someone opened up the van, dig it out. And the dude's like, what you got there? And somebody says it's CDs. And he goes, nah, man, I already bought your CD. And we're like, oh yeah, where'd you buy our CD? He said, and I quote, the CD store. And we're like, yeah, that sounds legit. You got it. And we used that for years. Yeah, I got it at the CD store, man. All right, you got any parting words for us there, Scott?
I'm not black like Barry White. No, I am white like Frank Black is.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later. Thanks for being with us, John.
Thanks, John.
See you, buddy.
Appreciate you, man.
See you guys.